So once again, we're in the City of London. This time we're looking at a particularly famous pub among pub lovers and city workers. This is the old Dr Butler's Head, which is historically famous for various reasons. It was originally supposed to have been built in 1610, which means the original building actually survived before the Great Fire of 1666. So unlike most of the pubs that were involved in the Great Fire of London that have completely disappeared, this one, at least we can see where it was, and even if it's been rebuilt, it's still symbolically important to pubs and to London overall. So if you come in for me, please. Before we talk about the sign and Dr Butler himself, I want you to notice that we're transported to a Jacobean era, post-Tudor, the Stuarts era. Now, this is obviously imitation, but it doesn't make it any less charming to me, and it highlights a point I've made many times, which is that we don't have to build in metal and glass. We can imitate things to create a huge sense of charm. So just before we move on and talk about the eccentric character that this pub is named after, come round here for me and just capture the frontage of this glorious building. And if you look up, you can actually see the beautiful brickwork, which is complemented by charming windows. This is what pubs should look like. Now, Dr Butler was a somewhat strange individual, in my humble opinion. He gained a massive name during the 1600s as a physician, a self-proclaimed physician, might I add. He did so out of his own experience as opposed to spending a lot of time within the medical field. So he made it up as he went along, basically. For instance, if you had epilepsy, he may well drop you through a trapdoor into the River Thames, which means you're just as likely to get cholera or some other waterborne disease, or just go missing altogether, than you are to be cured of epilepsy. Or he might have shot a pistol by your ear. So once again, I find it somewhat ironic that this chap was known for curing people's mental and physical ailments. So successful did he become with his experiments that he became the personal physician to James VI and I. James VI of Scotland, first of England, the first of the Scottish monarchs to rule Britain. Now, I do find it strange as well that he's given such a name as a physician, because he was there during the time that James's firstborn son was fatally ill and died. Henry, who would have been Henry IX, who would have been the king instead of Charles I, who was beheaded later after what we call the English Civil War, which isn't the only English Civil War. For some reason we call it the English Civil War as if it was the only one to ever exist. But not everyone actually understands that Charles I wasn't destined to be on the throne. His older brother was supposed to have had all the traits you can imagine and been prepared well ahead of time. But for some reason, Dr Butler and all of his experience was unable to save him. Now, this little tale about William Butler will tell us a couple of things, but we can't be sure of either, as to whether he was incredibly entrepreneurial or genuinely wanted to help the public. You see, at the same time that, or around the same time that he was becoming or became James VI and I's official physician, he was also opening pubs thanks to his magic ale, his magic serum, which was basically a concoction of goodies that he had put into his ale, or into a liquid that he added to his ale, which he convinced people was some sort of curing agent. And as a result, people would flock to his pubs. This is the last of those pubs. This is the last surviving pub. That is the final sign of him that you will see. Now, maybe I'm being a bit cruel, but people today will believe next to anything if you advertise it well enough. So, considering some of the blemishes I believe his name had, I feel that there might have been a huge sense of propaganda. There may have been a lot of hearsay that created this placebo effect. And therefore, I believe that he knew bloody well it probably wasn't going to cure you of your cough or your ailments. It was probably the case of he was using his name to create incredible finance So a bit like a chemist, basically, if you saw this pub sign, you knew that the purging agent, this purging ale, was on sale. So, like I said, a lot of people are susceptible to all sorts of propaganda and salesman tactics. Was this actually a healing agent? Maybe, but I doubt it. The chances are that this was an incredible abuse of power and position from William, and as a result we had a series of these pubs, and as I said, this is the final surviving pub. Now, London, the city of London, has many tales like this. And public houses and its frontage like this one are just a glimpse into how many we've lost and will have never heard of.